Hello and welcome back to DJ Camera Reviews, and I just finished my Dead Reckoning Part 1 review, so I thought I'll just do perhaps a quicker video, a Mission Impossible movie ranking, because people love to do that whenever a new film's out. You know, Batman, Spider-Man especially, there's always new ones of those, so people are always updating their rankings, and James Bond movies, although there's not many of those out in the last few years, and there probably isn't going to be one for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 9 years, maybe? Well, I don't know about 9 years, but not anytime soon. So there are 7 Mission Impossible movies, and one thing I didn't give Dead Reckoning credit for in my review is that, pretty much every single Mission Impossible movie, and perhaps not Mission Impossible 8, because that will be Part 1 and Part 2, they'll feel similar, but every single Mission Impossible movie up until now is unique. Plot-wise, obviously they follow a structure. Ethan Hunt gets a mission, he accepts the mission, he goes rogue, or is forced to go rogue. They go to 2 or 3 different countries, maybe 4 different countries, lots of locations. He has to do a heist sort of thing, has to have a running scene, has to have some ridiculous stunt. There's usually, a villain who has a new technology, a nuclear bomb, an AI, chemical weapon, a rabbit's foot. We don't know what the rabbit's foot was, but it was called a rabbit's foot, and that was in Mission Impossible 3. Pretty good one. So, plot-wise, these movies aren't really unique, but from the directorial standpoint, the first 5 movies have different directors. 5, 6, and 7, and 8 all have the same director, but I think something that's really impressive, even though they are by the same director, and you can feel that they are sort of the same ilk in a way, but visually and sound-wise, that they do feel different, and I think that's something that's really impressive. Obviously, I don't think a franchise could have kept going if they're all the same. So, at 7th place in my ranking, you've got John Woo's 2000 movie, Mission Impossible 2. Pretty much everyone has Mission Impossible 2 at the bottom of their ranking, and there are good things in Mission Impossible 2. But John Woo is an action director, face-off, hard-boiled, lots of shooting and explosions, and, he's... honestly, I don't know if he's Korean or Chinese, that's really bad of me. Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong cinema, that's it. I should really know that sort of thing. So really good director, and I watched Face Off recently with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. That's really exciting. Mission Impossible 2 feels like Tom Cruise, the producer, saw Face Off and John Woo's movies and thought, oh, we could do that, but they didn't really do it. The last 40 minutes of the movie is really exciting, with some good shootouts and fantastic motorcycle into sort of karate kicking fight on a beach. It's very entertaining. But the first hour is a lot more melodrama, too many mask reveals of the magic masks, and the villain is kind of just grim, misogynistic, and boring. And thank goodness that Dougray Scott decided to be the villain in Mission Impossible 2 rather than let Hugh Jackman become Wolverine. Dougray Scott was originally going to be Wolverine. So, in some ways, this movie did give us Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So, that's probably the best part of this movie. And a pretty good Hans Zimmer score. At number 6, this changes on whichever one I'm watching. And this is kind of sacrilege to put the first Mission Impossible at 6th. But all 6 of these movies from here on in are really good. Brian De Palma, a really good director, although I think I've only seen this film by him, but prestigious director that people really like. And this is a paranoid, tense thriller. Not much action, it's the shortest of them. There's so many twists and turns. The Langley heist, where Tom Cruise is being hung from the ceiling, and is balancing on that white floor. poetic cinema. That is one of the best heist sequences and one of the best set pieces of the whole series. So tense, and there's barely any dialogue for 10 minutes. It's wonderfully done. So, this is a really good one, and fantastic Danny Elfman score. I'm going to be saying that a lot. The music in this series is wonderful. Of course, you've got the main theme, but, this is a really good one. So it's a shame I'm putting it at the bottom, and it does have the best dialogue scene in any Mission Impossible movie in the restaurant. The Dutch angles like that between Tom Cruise and Henry Czerny as Eugene Kittredge, the IMF or the CIA director, and that's a wonderfully tense sequence in a restaurant, which ends with the exploding water tank, which is brilliant. So that's at 6. At 5th, we have Mission Impossible 3, J.J. Abrams' first movie before 2 Star Trek movies and 2 Star Wars movies. This is really good. It's definitely of its time. 2006, you'd had Casino Royale, Batman Begins, these sort of dark, edgy reboots, and Mission Impossible 3 sort of feels like a reboot with giving Ethan Hunt a wife and a normal life outside of him being a spy, and Shaky Cam from 2004's The Bourne Supremacy. Shaky Cam was the whole, Shaky Cam was the whole thing. So we've had Dutch angles and we've had slow-mo in Mission Impossible 2. This is Shaky Cam, right like this, kind of close-ups, because J.J. Abrams had been working in TV. So just get my camera right. This is really intense and pretty good. Michael Giacchino score, and the best running shot of the whole series for about 20 seconds running along a street in what's supposed to be Shanghai, but Shanghai doesn't look like that. They filmed it in some suburb of another city, I think, so, At number 4, we have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I imagine this could well go up in my ranking if I watch it another 10 times, really fall in love with it, despite some of the flaws. As I said, visually, this one just doesn't look... It's a bit of an ugly duckling, really, because it isn't shot on film. It's shot digitally. Now, Skyfall is one of the best-looking movies ever made. It's one of my favourite. Roger Deakins, the cinematographer on that, is the greatest. He's just the greatest, perhaps of all time, or at the very least, working today. And he likes to shoot on digital and make things look like they do in real life, whereas the Mission Impossible movies don't really do that. They're shot on film and they have this analog, really classic feel, and Dead Reckoning pretends that it is on film, whereas Skyfall sort of feels sci-fi almost at times, and so I think that visually this movie just doesn't look as good. However, as I said in my review, exhilarating. They know how to shoot stunts and action. The car chase in Rome is the best car chase of the series. It's just incredible what they were doing, and in that little yellow Fiat, absolutely amazing stuff. One of the best train sequences of all time, which just goes and goes and goes. The tension, there's a lot more tense sequences in this one. There's a lot more sort of, things hanging and ticking clocks, and I thought it was, it's a proper brilliant cinematic experience, and I'm very looking forward to seeing what comes next. But comparing it to the next 3, I just feel like these movies just have that something extra. I don't know, but I'm not used to it. I've seen all these movies so many times. I've seen Dead Reckoning twice, so I'm still getting used to it. At number 3, we have Ghost Protocol, and really any of these top 3 could be the best. Ghost Protocol, directed by Brad Bird, who is the fantastic director of Ratatouille and The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2, which is also really brilliant. So this one has the, in terms of camera techniques, the most expressive moving camera. The colour of it and the composition, I don't know, but the camera moves in these wonderful animated style, because he was an animated director. This was his first feature live action feature. So for the first time, this is absolutely incredible. But you feel the sort of animation style He was looking at the film being made, and he had to watch it frame by frame. And I don't know whether it's now the funniest movie, because I think Dead Reckoning has some really funny moments, but it is the sort of jolliest. But it's not like a Marvel movie, perhaps, where they're doing jokes all the time. It's funny situations, and Ethan Hunt is really characterized well in this. He's a guy who can do the amazing, but he doesn't really want to. And he doesn't want to, he'll do anything for the mission. He'll do anything for the mission, but he doesn't want to sacrifice anyone either. So there are real stakes to this. Ticking clock at the very end with the nuclear bomb heading, into New York. Was it Seattle? I think maybe, or San Francisco. They don't blow up the bridge though. They go on Gate Bridge. So Jeremy Renner is in this one as well. He improves in the next movie though. But yeah, the better of the two Michael Giacchino soundtracks in this one as well. And the Dubai sequence with hanging on the outside of the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, into a chase through a sandstorm. Just perhaps the best half an hour of spy cinema, perhaps ever, or top 5 sort of big spy sequences. It's incredible. At number 2, we have Christopher McQuarrie's first Mission Impossible movie as director. This one has the most classic Hitchcockian style, especially in a big opera sequence, which is apparently very much like the Hitchcock film, which I've not seen, The Man Who Knew Too Much. This is incredible. Joe Kramer is the composer for this one. Really wonderful. He wanted to only use instruments that were around at the time of the 60s show. Introduces a great villain in Solomon Lane, who is pretty much the thinking, psychological equivalent to Ethan Hunt, but a bad one. And also introduces Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust, who's just amazing and has such good chemistry and is such a strong female character. The equivalent, like Bond movies will say, well, I'm like the female James Bond, but not really. But she is fantastic in this, and even better in the next movie. But this one has some fantastic action sequences on the opera, hanging on the outside of a moving plane, and then fantastic car chase in Morocco. All that stuff. It's just wonderful. But I do think the best movie, visually, story-wise, villain-wise, action-wise, acting-wise, production design-wise, costume design-wise, title sequence-wise, suspense. It's got everything. Stunts, obviously, is the latest one, or before the latest one. Mission Impossible Fallout 2018. This is the most Dark Knight of the movies, I guess you could say. Helped by Lorne Balfe, who's got this sort of synth soundtrack going on. Visually, lots of lens flares. It's just beautiful. The action has never been so good. The helicopter, hanging on the outside of a helicopter sequence is at the end, is just breathtaking. This is the best cinematic experience I've ever had. I was so exhilarated and terrified that some of these characters were going to die, that the world was going to blow up at the end, and then they get it right at the last second. Spoilers. This is just an incredible movie, an incredible action movie. I mean, the Paris motorcycle chase into a car chase, it's just incredible. And the stunts have never been so good, and never been presented so well, never been so daring. It's just the best foot chase, the best car chase, motorcycle chase, helicopter chase, jumping out of a plane, fighting a bathroom. There's, fantastic Mission Impossible stuff with the sort of trap that they have at the start, and the mask pulls, and great double villainy of Solomon Lane from 5, and then in 6, and then Henry Cavill as the villain as well. So Mission Impossible Fallout is at number 1. So hopefully Dead Reckoning Part 2 will be up there as well, but we'll see in a few years. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again on DJ Camel Reviews. Goodbye.